If I, for whom name is King Tommy Chancey Council Sr. of Four Councils Incorporated, legally, historically, biblically, religiously, and federally file God's children, Allah's children, and my atheist children's Chapter 13 bankruptcy in the civil and criminal courthouses in Seminole and Orange counties in the state of Florida, against the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, as well as their angels, which allows God's children, Allah's children, and my atheist children all over the world to keep all of their intellectual property as they repay all or portion of their debts to King Tommy Chancey Council Sr. of Four Councils Incorporated as either a business associate of Chancey Incorporated or an employee of Chancey Incorporated. And if a child of God, Allah, or my atheist children anywhere in the world work 30 years for Chancey Incorporated, your last paycheck will be the amount of your first retirement check. Because I, for whom name is Tommy Chancey Council Sr., don't want any child of mine suffering after working for me, for whom name is King Tommy Chancey Council Sr. for 30 years. For which is why Chancey Incorporated is not just paying a living wage to God's children, Allah's children, as well as my atheist children anywhere in the world. Chancey Incorporated is also offering God's children, Allah's children, and my atheist children all over the world a livable retirement. Because, like I say, these activists of today, they want the companies to pay a living wage. But what I'm saying is, after you give your youth to a company, you don't need a living wage. You need a livable retirement. See, this is why a worker needs to grow into a given employment, because only a person that's in the fight know what the fighter need to win the fight. See, if you're gonna stay underneath the devil's thumb, then it's under the devil's thumb you residing. See what I'm saying? Now, if you look at the arraignment of Adam, Eve, and the serpent was punished to then be on his belly, or its belly, right, for forever and ever. So now, if the devil have you under it, then you're not even above the soil. If the serpent was sentenced to crawl on its belly and eat dust from which it came from, if you are under the serpent, you're not even born yet. You're not even above the soil. If you beneath the devil, the serpent, see, that's why, if you think about it, when Jesus was in Lent and he was 30 days fasting for 40 days, well, see, the devil thought that because his body was cleansing, he thought that the devil was hungry. He thought God was hungry. Just like my friends, right? Like, man, when I was thrust in this fight, I wasn't hungry, like, for food. I was thirsting for knowledge. So I was so engrossed in eating and digesting the necessary evidence that I needed to win the case that I wasn't hungry. You see what I'm saying? See, that's what I'm saying about how your body adapts to the situation. So I didn't have food, so it wasn't no need of me hopping on something I didn't have. I only had what I had, and I had to make what I had work. You see what I'm saying? So if I sat there and talked about what I didn't have, then I wouldn't have the evidence that I do have. So see, when the devil was starving my body, I fed my mind. And now that my mind is full, now the devil is now empty of knowledge. See, it's 15 years of lying, you're going to finally get to the end of the lie. And now my knowledge is running over, right? So when it says your cup runneth over, then what cup is divine other than the mind? Because the mind can then digest something that a cup would then have. You couldn't put abundance in a cup unless the cup is big enough to deal with, to handle the abundance. So when they say a cup half full or a cup half empty, if you look at it from a mental cup, then your cup has to be immature if it's half full, right? But how about when your cup reach full maturity? Now, wouldn't knowledge then overflow like beverage? So if you pour a beverage into a cup, well, when the cup can no longer hold a beverage, then if you still got more beverage than you have cup, it's gonna run it over on the surface underneath the cup. So what about if the mind is a divine cup? See, like, so once I started pouring knowledge into my half full cup, well, once I got over 100 books, then I started allowing the knowledge to spill over into over 100 books that I wrote. So first I read 100 books. I got all of the knowledge of the 100 books from those authors of those 100 books. And then I became an author of over 100 books. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by your cup runneth over. So when they denied my ancestors the right to read and write, then my ancestors' prayers had to produce my intellect. See what I'm saying? So if the prayer is a seed, well, what happened when God received the seed and planted into an intellect? Then wouldn't the seed create an intellectual? So now, when you create an intellectual, well, what happened when the devil tries to steal intellectual's intellectual property? Then wouldn't the property of the intellectual then become knowledgeable substance that now overflows from the divine cup? But see, you can look at it in the Bible, you can read it in the Bible, you can read it in the Quran, but can you see it with your mind? Because your eyes can trick you, but do your mind lead you astray, or do you be afraid of what it takes? See, that's why it says that a brother or sister like me has to walk through the valley of the shadow of your understanding, which then makes it the valley of the shadow of death, because you only know what you was told. So if you're afraid of knowledge, then you're afraid of self. See, think about it. If you're afraid of knowledge, you're afraid to make yourself knowledgeable, because then you don't want to be persecuted because of the knowledge you have. So then what you do is you lack knowledge so you don't be persecuted. But I'm saying, well, aren't you persecuted because of the knowledge you lack? Just because you're comfortable being ignorant doesn't mean you're comfortable in your ignorance. You just comfortable, but you still ignorant, and that should make you uncomfortable. See what I'm saying? But I guess when you don't have responsibility for the situation that your ignorance has placed you in, then you blame God for the ignorance. See what I'm saying? So then, well, if God if God is the creator of the ignorance, then you God's co-pilot in the ignorance. But who is flying the plane? If Jesus said, or if somebody said in the Bible that Hosea said that my people were perish for lack of knowledge, then how can God be the co-pilot of ignorance? See, this is what I'm saying. So if your God is ignorant, then you need to educate your God so your God can be as wise as the serpent. Because if the serpent manipulates you and then you become manipulated, then the serpent is now your God, because the serpent is now leading you astray. The serpent is using you to lead you astray. See what I'm saying? So you got the mind, grab the wheel. Start educating yourself. Start learning how to do things, and then you can do things better than you're doing them now. That's what happened with me. See, once I started using my mind, then the rest is history. See, once I'm using my mind, why would I stop using my mind when he tries to invade my understanding? Now I'm finna give him a piece of my mind. See, that's what they used to say, I'm gonna give you a piece of my mind. That means I'm finna tell you about yourself, right? So, okay, now, So this is because when a child of God, Allah or mine, work for Chancellor Incorporated, God's children, Allah's children, and my atheist children will be working to prepare a place for them to retire, as God's children, Allah's children, and my atheist children prepare a place to live here on earth. Because if Jesus Christ is up in heaven preparing a place for the Christians, then the rest of us should be preparing a place for us here on earth. If the Holy Bible says that it's on earth as it is in heaven, therefore if you are presently living in poverty's hell here on earth, wouldn't you be living in hell's poverty in your next life? If in this life you are catching hell, how can your present hell turn into heaven if you don't change your attitude? See what I'm saying? Because does not attitude bring about a result? See what I'm saying? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, when I used to not understand what respect for myself was, then I wanted somebody else to respect me, and I had to get that respect through violence. See, because that's the only thing that a fool understands. See what I'm saying? But then I had to realize that I was a fool too, because I allowed the fool to make me stoop to that fool's level. So if I am born with intellect, why would I let a fool make me neglect my intellect? You see what I'm saying? And see, now I get another chance to do it right. Because when I was in high school, I let a fool make me act a fool, and then I had to go the long way around to my sovereignty. But see, if I would have did what my mama told me to do, but then again, like I say, see, everything that I went through made me who I am. So even when I look back on it and I used to think that it was a bad thing, now I see what it prepared me for. But see, what I'm saying is, if you living in hell, then you have to envision heaven, because hell all around you. And see, now you understand what I'm saying one day. Therefore, if you are poor, therefore, if you are poor, wouldn't your understanding be poor? For which is why you will have to change your understanding of heaven here on earth before your God would be able to use you to get you and your God out of hell here on earth. See what I'm saying? See, because if your God is always with you, then your God is with you even in the hell you living in. So wouldn't God be telling your conscience to do something to get you both out of hell? But if you don't listen to your conscience, how would you ever hear God? See, because you listening to that fool tell you to sell dope, but you not listening to your conscience tell you to go to school. Because you more afraid of that fool telling you to sell dope than you are of your conscience. See, that's why I say, if your conscience don't condemn you, nor will I. Because your conscience is God. So if your conscience do not bother you, then you are not moved by God. If you doing wrong and you think it's right, then your God is the one got you doing wrong. So wouldn't God be your devil if your devil got you doing wrong? See, you have to decide who you gonna be. If you gonna be your God or your devil. Because it's all, the fight is over you. So if you are in a situation, then you have to be the remedy to get you out of that situation. Just because you was born somewhere don't mean you have to die where you were born at. See what I'm saying? Every place has an exit if you have a plan, right? You have to have an exit strategy to exit. If you have no strategy, then how can you exit something that you're not trying to exit? See, I have always been trying to get out of poverty. So I knew that I couldn't be poor and become prosperous. So I had to begin to start to have a wealth of understanding. See, because once I had a wealth of understanding, I had enough knowledge to survive my enemy's monetary wealth. See what I'm saying? Just imagine if I needed a tax lawyer, a criminal lawyer, a personal lawyer, a personal injury lawyer. Those are all different specialties. I had to become all those lawyers and then go into court and beat all those lawyers who was advocating for the devil in the devil's domain. Because the courthouse is the devil's house until Tommy Chancey Counselor Sr. went in there and turned it out and made like Jesus went into his father's house and turned over the money tables and shooed out the oxen, sheep, and doves. See, I went into the civil and criminal courthouses in Seminole and Orange counties in the state of Florida and made it mine on August 12, 2008 at 10:40 in the morning. Then I walked into the federal courthouse in the Middle District of Florida and made it mine on February 20th in 2018 at 9:20 in the morning. That's why I told my mother when she was teaching me about Jesus some prayer, I say, don't put nobody above me. I told my mama that when I was 5 years old, and now I'm telling y'all that at 54.